Stephen Kerr.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak in support of this important measure. In fact, I applaud the very first 5 lines of the bill. Someone said earlier that this is a short bill. I don't think it's that particularly short, but the first 5 words are short enough. Dealing in ivory is prohibited. That is a measure that I think commands the support of all sides of the House. And I stand here in the full knowledge that my constituents, from the very young to the most senior, feel passionately about protecting and preserving the elephant, sadly now under critical threat. And I also rise to speak up on behalf of my grandchildren and their children yet unborn. I don't want to be part of a generation of humanity that stood by and allowed avarice and cruelty to destroy one of the most extraordinary creatures ever to grace this planet. It is unimaginable to me that a generation yet to come might never see an elephant in its natural environment. And if we don't take the lead on this matter, who will? I, for one, am proud that we are taking the lead. This bill shows again that the United Kingdom is leading the world in animal welfare, and by implementing one of the toughest ivory bans worldwide, this Parliament sends the world a clear message that we are aware of the dangers facing the elephant population and that we are prepared to do something about it. The worldwide ivory trade has had a massive negative impact on elephants. It's been rehearsed many times during the course of this debate. The statistics are terrible. WWF estimates that the current elephant population is barely a tenth of what it was in the early 20th century. And today, even today, as we are holding this debate, 55 elephants are killed every day for their tusks. However, the ivory trade does more than kill elephants. In a groundbreaking study by Dr. Catherine Abernethy of Stirling University. Where else? It was found that roots forged by ivory smugglers enable trade in other critically endangered species. The demand for ivory creates smuggle routes across forest borders, and these routes are then used by traffickers moving other animals, such as the pangolin. Now, the pangolin is a scaly, ant-eating mammal, and their meat is considered a delicacy, and their scales are deemed by some to have magical medicinal properties. And the pangolin is considered one of the most trafficked animals in the world today, the most trafficked animal most people will have never heard of. And while the WWF classifies the African element as vulnerable, they classify 2 of the pangolin species as critically endangered, the most serious classification, meaning it is believed that those species are at serious risk of extinction. Therefore, I welcome this bill at many different levels and hope it sends a clear signal that the UK intends to bring down the ivory trade and other criminal smuggling routes it enables. If I might just turn my attention to certain aspects of the bill, because when the bill goes to committee, I do believe that some of the definitions that are mentioned in the bill do need to be looked at very closely, and in some cases expanded and tightened, and in other respects perhaps we need to look at it. For example, this mention in clause 6 of pre-1918 portrait miniatures. I mean, the definition for a portrait miniature needs to be looked at. The clause 7, the pre-1947 items with low ivory content, this less than 10% of the total volume of the material of which the item is made. It's been brought to my attention that that measure might have unintended consequences, because the bill in its current form would inhibit the sale of small antique items consisting entirely of ivory made before 1947. We need to look at these definitions and the consequences of them and be determined about what we actually want this legislation to do. I'm pleased that Clause 8 mentions pre-1975 musical instruments, and I say that as a piper myself, owning a priceless set of bagpipes that my father got for me long before 1975, I hasten to add, with ivory mounts. And those ivory mounts do make me sad, but these are precious instruments, and they do make a glorious sound, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which of course symbolises so much to my countrymen. And at this point, I would simply like to say that I hope that we will remain united as a House as this bill moves through Parliament, and that we stamp out this ivory trade, because we must.